dress, right?
That's kind of what I thought, and that's, like, I don't know if that's the show fucking with my brain, but I've only ever pictured her in dresses, and so the fact that he was like, he grabbed her shirt, I was like,
Wait.
But he pulls her into the opening. The walls are wet and slick, and the tightness of the space makes his heart go into his throat. Right? Right?
Come on.
In the middle of this intense scene, it was all like, hey, Horny Town, how you doing?
I think he writes each of these chapters alone, by himself. Well, by himself would be alone in, the latest parts of the night when he's like, all right, I'm going to get into my fantasy world. And about halfway through each of these chapters, this one's a little closer to the end, he starts feeling the call, and it's just got to come out somewhere. I mean, look, you have these things capitalized. Wet, slick, and tightness.
And opening.
And opening. I rest my case.
And then it says he doesn't like tight places. Like, he was a little ashamed about how much he liked it.
You know what you wrote. Just for the record, Terry, I fucking love you, buddy.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, Kahlan and Richard back through this tight, slick opening, and occasionally are checking back in front of them, but they're going through there backwards a little bit, and Richard holds the stone out, lighting the shadow things and the grippers as they all crawl into the split.
I'm sorry. You just said they backed out, and I was like, yep, of course they pulled out of the tight, dark, wet place. You have to pull out.
And take a deep breath once in a while.
Right. Whew, I feel better. So they continue moving sideways through backs on walls, soaked shirts, the crack narrowing in some places, almost closing. Decomposing forest debris gives the split a sickening, rot smell. And nowhere to get away from it. Finally reaching the other side without anything really happening.
It was a very anticlimactic thing.
Yeah. All of these people are closing in. They're closing in. They're coming closer. But, I mean, we're there. It's fine. It was very intense. It was very thriller-like for a moment. But, yeah, nothing really happened. Then we got through.
Yeah, I just felt like they popped out the other side, and the shadows stopped, but the grippers didn't. And I was like, oh, okay. So the narrows really weren't that bad.
Right. And the only thing that remotely came close to happening is one gripper got a little close to Richard, and he just kicks it, and it flies off into the darkness. It stands up then, gross, and, lets out some sort of primal growl before coming back at him super slow.
Yeah, like an angry turtle.
I got two visuals. One of them is something closely relating a potato bug with teeth. And scary, but maybe 3 feet tall. They wouldn't be quite that big. Maybe a foot tall, standing up, coming at you.
I mean, that's bad enough, but 3 feet, I was gonna die.
Yeah, no, 3 feet's pretty fucking big. I don't care if that thing can move slow. It's time to leave. But this gripper growling at him and then coming back. Well, they're stubborn little fuckers, aren't they?
Yeah.
And scary. Okay, you can kick it out of the way. You can't hurt it with your sword. You know that. Or at least we're assuming you can't. You would have tried. I feel like it wouldn't work for whatever reason. They're armored little buggers. But it's angry and it's deliberate now that you've hurt it. So even if you get away from the boundary, is this little thing just going to keep following you for who knows how far?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Addie doesn't mention that literally everything that you walk past is apparently attracted to you. She mentioned that they ate her foot, but she didn't mention that, you smell good, apparently. I don't know. Everything is, coming after them aggressively. It's not just oh, you pissed me off, I'm gonna come after you.
You're the one living thing in an entire world full of dead people.
Right.
they're gonna notice.
and they're gonna come for you. They're not just gonna notice and like watch you as you pass. They're gonna keep aggressively pursuing you.
Which is terrifying enough. You have a group of things hunting you, and they will be following you. You won't be able to stop anywhere. You already planned on not being able to stop, but now there's a reason behind the reason. Not only is it dangerous because of things in the boundary, you can't stop because these little fuckers are going to follow you until you are good and out.
Yeah, and again, it's a little strange. We haven't seen the Hearthounds or any other creatures except these two yet.
Right, they just haven't shown.
Yeah. But Kahlan looks in front of them and realizes that there is a hillside absolutely ravaged by a slide. The trail had been swept.
I'm sorry, when you said that, I was like, water slide? Fuck yeah! Let's go! It's not what you meant.
No, not the fun kind. The trail had been swept away. They took a step, and green light came on, surprising them. And grippers were at their heels. Shadows floating in the split. So basically, they have nowhere to go. It's weird that the boundary apparently just took an abrupt 90-degree turn.
Yeah. I don't know why that would be. Other than the giant rock theory that I had mentioned earlier. When it cracks, it does crack in a linear fashion, but that line isn't perfectly straight. So they might be in a crack that didn't crack vertically. It cracked horizontally. Does that make sense?
Like it didn't go directly along the pass.
Right.
So when they came out, they weren't straight on with the pass through the boundary.
This is the best way, but it's still not a perfect way.
Okay.
And this is interceding with that crack and causing this weird turn. Does that make sense, or am I absolutely crazy?
No, it totally does. I was just thinking about how shitty it would be to be standing there like, well, now we're fucked.
Yeah. You've come all this way. You're in the middle of a giant rock. Well, you're through the Narrows, but you're still inside this big formation of rock. There is nowhere else to go. The only way to go is forward, and it's blocked. What's worse is these nasty little feet. You know, don't they call young kids ankle biters in Australia?
I mean, I think they call them ankle biters in more than Australia, but
well,
maybe.
That's exactly what these things are. But these ankle biters, they are coming up behind you, gonna eat your feet, which, you know, you need to walk and really live unless you have some medical supplies. They're trapped. They just started, and they are trapped. They have absolutely nowhere to go.
And that's where our chapter ends.
And that's all you get. I kind of feel like maybe Terry has a little feeling like that every time he ends a chapter with high suspense, like, that'll get him. Well, it worked, Tara. It worked.
Try to go to sleep now. Ha 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 ha.
Right. No chance. It doesn't matter how late it is. You're like, wow, one more chapter before I read 3 more.
But not tonight. Tonight, we are going to be finishing right there. So if you have anything to say about this episode, or thoughts, theories, anything you have to say, really, let us know. Get a hold of us at podcastatt@gmail.com, on Instagram at podcastatt, also on Facebook at podcastatt, or all the things.
That's right. You can find us on Twitter at podcast_ATT. And if you wanted to help this podcast grow, you can go to patreon.com/podcastatt and become a patron. Once you do that, for $6 a month, you'll get access to gag reels, deep cut discussions, and you'll get a personalized, totally unscripted, I promise, shout out. Those are actually my favorite.
And if you want to share what kind of beer you're drinking, go ahead and find us on Untappd. That's a new thing we just started, so make sure that you friend us on there if you're on there. If not, get on there, because it's super fun.
Yeah, we're putting those 12 beers of Christmas up, and we want to see which of you are drinking them with us. But I think that does it for this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you real soon.
Bye!